welcome to Real WW Talk. I'm Rikki.
And I'm Candice.
And as you can tell, we are missing our third amigo here, amiga.
It's always one of us. It was me last week, and now, I was gone last week, and now Erin's gone.
I know, we miss her, but alas, the conversation must go on. So it's lovely to be here with you, Candice.
Yes, and she's fine, guys. We always give that premise. No one's upset. No one's hurt. She's gone doing work stuff. You know how it is. So
exactly.
But always nice to chat with you.
Yeah, you too. So how was your week?
Oh, goodness. Breast Cancer Awareness Month is done. For those of you all who know or don't know, I am a breast cancer survivor, and I recently wrote a book. So it was released during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So it's been a whirlwind, like for the past 31 days of education and speaking events and doing all the things. So I'm sad. I'm glad that I was so busy, but I'm also like really ready to kind of relax a little bit because
I bet
life has been a lot. It's been a lot, but my last week was good. We had a panel discussion that had like 8,000 people who streamed to hear about, breast cancer statistics and how to do screenings and things. And then I was getting my son's cold because this whole season of him being in preschool, Rikki, I have nothing but respect for you as a teacher. Like these kids' germs are unmatched. Like I don't think I've ever had like this lingering cough, cold, congestion like I have this year. And it's only been like a month that he's been in preschool. Like what?
They learn to share everything, including those germs.
Oh my gosh. So I'm hopeful that I'm on the other side of it. And then I'm also really excited because I found these Pellegrinos that are 0 sugar.
Ooh,
it's so fancy, right? So if you're on the podcast or if you're listening, you can go to YouTube and see. It's San Pellegrino Italian sparkling drinks, 0 added sugar, lemonade, and they also have it in the blood orange. Now, it does have like the sucralose, so I don't really love that. But hey, like sometimes if you're just looking for a 0-point drink, I saw it at Target. So
that's exciting. Great find.
What about you? How was your week?
It's been pretty good. It's been busy. I feel like it's just nonstop with, lots of staff being out, whether it's traveling or like sicknesses that are going around school. Yeah, it's that time of year. Also, we're at the end of our first quarter, if you believe it or not. So that means a lot is due. We've got progress reports due, but it just means that time has gone by really fast. This month just flew by. So things are good. Just staying busy and trying to have that balance of, work and play.
Yeah, that kind of, and you and I were talking before we kind of, got going about how routines and everything, like feels like it. We laugh, we both are Mariah Carey fans. So you go from like October 31st to it's time in her really loud voice, like, and now it's holidays, right? Where I feel like the world just shifts. Like you're bringing out the stuff. I can see behind Rikki, she already sees some like little Christmas decorations and things. Like
it's not too soon, right?
No, I don't think so. I know people who have their trees up already. Like
that's amazing. Yeah.
That's not me. I'm usually the one that's like, it's probably time for me to do this. Like, let me go ahead and I just put out the pumpkins.
I know. I generally try to wait until after Thanksgiving because I want my fall stuff to have its time. But I feel like I also put my fall decor like out kind of early this year. So it feels like I could put my Christmas decor up.
Yeah. But I wanted to talk a little bit about like how, when we do have this shift, and I was talking about how my routine kind of got put off track last month with all the things that I had going on. Have you found like that this time of year has a whole new rhythm to it that you have to adjust to? And how that impacts either the things that we're doing for our health? Like, we were talking, I'm a morning exerciser. That might not be as, that hasn't been as easy now that I'm preparing a kid for school. But now I'm also going to be hosting people for different events. And, I don't have the same time that I had before. I was just wondering, for you and for me and for those who are listening, how are you navigating or preparing for the newness of the routines that are coming from November 1st to the end of the year? Because it is a whole new thing.
That's such a good question. So I think the first thing that I have to do is, like, you rely on my calendar. Like, I have to have everything in my calendar. I have multiple. I have my work one that I keep separate from my, personal life. But if it's a doctor's appointment or something that impacts work where I'm gonna have to be off half day, I need to put that in. And, I think that works too with being able to track activity and water and other things. I do that, my planner has a little space for that. So I try to also like write down those things. So if there is a change in my schedule, I can, mark it down there. So I'm like, oh, this day I know I'm not going to be able to walk, or I'm not going to be able to get on the bike. So I need to plan accordingly, or just know that I need to do something different that day.
Yeah.
So,
I've definitely learned that I'm the type of person that if it is not in my like, literally on my calendar, I'm gonna forget it.
mm-hmm.
Like, I used to be one where I would say that I can remember, and I would generally, but I've had, like, 3 meetings that I've forgotten because
Yeah.
I didn't put it on my calendar. And
Yeah.
I was thinking about how, one of the tools that Weight Watchers has in their system, have you ever you've used the quick add feature, right?
Yes, I
Like,
love that.
I'm relying on that a whole lot more, but I went to one of their special sessions because, I have the meetings membership.
Hmm.
They always do something called, like, Plan With Me, which has
Okay.
been amazing, and it's held by different coaches. It's not like every the same coach may host it every week, but it's multiple times throughout the week, and the whole purpose of the meeting is to plan your
Hmm.
week. And to plan
Interesting.
not just what you're eating, but where you're going, how you're gonna do your meals, and one of the
Mhm,
things that comes up a lot is the quick add feature, and
mhm,
how you can use it not just to quick add food, but you can put things in the notes, like,
mhm,
in the note you can use the notes section of it, like, as a
mhm.
way to, um, talk about what you're gonna eat when you do go out. Like, how sometimes you don't have time to track when you're at a
Yeah.
place, and you're one who's social like me, and when you go out, you may not have time to put down everything, in the
Mhm,
moment, and you don't just wanna add 20 random points, you just wanna write down chicken, I had mashed potatoes, I had this drink, and track it later.
mhm.
That's like an option in the app, and
Okay.
you can go back to it later and add what you need to add. And I
Wow,
was like,
that's
"That
cool.
is fantastic," and something that I
Yeah,
wouldn't have thought that I would had needed, but I did
yeah.
because
'Cause I
things
think
go so fast.
Yeah, I love that. So many excuses can come up, like, "Oh, I didn't have time," or "Oh, I forgot," which for me, it's usually, "I forgot."
Mhm,
But, if I'm dedicating time to plan ahead, I think that's so helpful. And it sounds really like, duh, like, of course, that's what we're doing. But I
mhm.
think when you've been a part of this plan, do you find that it's harder? You have to put aside more time to plan your meals and more time to make sure that you track and pre-tracking. I feel like that's something that would have been a cornerstone of my me doing the program when I first joined, but as I've gotten into it and it's been more routine, I've been like, well, I know that that's easy. I'll just do it in the moment.
I was gonna say it's part of that know-it-allness that I think
Mm,
can set in when you've done it for as many years as we have, where you're like, "I know how to do this. I'll do it." It's always usually I'll do it later. For me, it's the
mhm.
procrastination that
Yeah.
kind of rears its ugly head because excuse me, I'm usually minimizing the
Mhm.
importance of it. Like, when you first start, you act like a true novice. You're like, "Oh, well,
Mhm.
they say count my points, and they say that I need to weigh it, or I need to have the measurements, like, I need to do this," and that's usually why we see success.
Yeah.
But I think I can admit that I sometimes am too smart for my own good,
Mhm.
and I let that kinda creep in, and I talk about what I don't need as much in this phase of my life. So part of me
Mhm.
has to kinda do what you do with your kids. No, it's important. Let's stop and do it now.
Mhm.
You're probably not gonna track later, even though you think you are. And I'm having to make it a conscious effort to say, "You ate,
Mhm.
track it now." Or, like you said, I'm actually really finding success in pre-tracking the day.
Mhm.
Because it gives me a roadmap. Because sometimes for me, I'm having a really tough time in this season with lunch.
Okay.
Lunch, for some reason, is tripping me up, and it's because it
Interesting.
requires me to either have stuff in the house that I don't have. Um, I'm usually running because 'cause I'm gone to pick up my son, and he's hungry, and it's good for him and for me to come home to a house where there's food there that he can eat, and, we can do whatever we need to do. But if I haven't planned the day before, I'm just wanting to grab something while I'm out. And I've gotten into that routine.
Yeah.
And it's something I have to break, because no amount of pre-tracking or even tracking in the moment will keep you from going over, because one, food prices have gone up so much.
That's crazy.
I mean, you go and you look at something, you're like, I just got a sandwich and some soup. And it's like $33. And you're like, but, and it's smaller. And then it's like double the price. So I have all the incentive to eat at home. But it requires a level of pre-planning that I have to make a priority in this season.
And I think that emphasizes so much more how routines may not come naturally to us. And even though we know better, we don't necessarily do it if it's not a routine. I think about myself and other patterns I have, and not that this is a terrible thing, but I don't know about you, I've never been the type of person to plan my outfits for the next day.
No.
I just, unless it's a really, really special event, I might, like, in my head say, okay, I know I have these 3 dresses. I'll probably be one of those 3 dresses. But then if I go in my closet and one of them's not there, I'm unprepared. But that's just how I do things. I never know what I'm going to wear the next day. It's just a great surprise.
I laugh only because I have this image of Rikki being Cher and Clueless, like, who has like the computer, and she's going around going, no, I don't want that top. No, I don't want that skirt. Because she's Miss Fashion Plate. Like, she knows all the things. Like, I feel like I would have an excuse to say that. That's a pride, because you're always very well put together. Excuse me.
Very kind of you.
Yeah.
That is my dream closet. I mean,
but it's important, right? Because you have to plan it.
Right.
I mean, and that's really what we're saying. And the thing that's funny about it is that you and I both are the queens of getting the prettiest planners and getting all the things to give us the tools to do it. It's not about it's not for lack of having the tools.
Exactly.
It's just about, I think, something I learned in therapy, and I've probably brought up here before, is that my mind is really good at making me think that it's going to be so much work or too laborious to do something that really is just not that hard. It can take me 5 or 10 minutes. It can take me 5 or 10 minutes to put out my clothes for the day, the next day.
Yeah.
But if I'm sitting on the couch or I'm tired and I'm watching TV, I don't feel like it. And I give into that inner 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't want to.
A really good example is laundry. I don't know many people who love doing laundry, but I know there was one day where I was like, let me time myself how long it takes me to fold this laundry. And I think it took me 5 minutes. I'm not the most meticulous folder, but like, it was folded nicely enough. And I wasn't rushing, but I was like, you would have thought that it was going to take me an hour to fold clothes the way I procrastinated to do it. But I think it's just like that with tracking. We're like, oh my gosh, I'll have to find it in the app. I have to scroll. I have to search and make sure it's the right one. And then I think we stop ourselves from doing things because we, especially, I know not everyone's mind is different, but I know you and I are very similar in that way. It's like, I get distracted. So it's like, if I'm going through that process and then something else comes up, then the tracking window is gone and I'm doing something else.
And I think that then, for me, running into the perfection of, well, I didn't do it here, so the whole week's lost or the whole time's lost. I'll just start next week, which is, it's just so nonsensical. Like, I know it intellectually, but in the moment, it feels like, well, you didn't do it this time, and this is a big deal. Like, we make big deals out of things that are not big deals.
Right.
And put these pressures and stressors on ourselves to do things a certain way, when really, just like you brought up with the folding, it's enough. I mean, sure, maybe every corner isn't where it needs to be, but there's no folding police that's coming behind you and saying, like, I cannot believe that you did not do a perfect square. Like, forget it. And you don't take all your laundry and then throw it out into the floor.
No, definitely not.
That's something that I tend to do with either it be my tracking or by planning. It's like, if I didn't plan this day, then there's no point in me planning the rest of the week. And I've had to sit down and honestly have my own therapy session and say, we know that that's not helpful. No one has to tell you that. Like, I don't need a therapist to actually tell me that. Like, there's a point where you have to just kind of call yourself out on the BS and say, it doesn't matter if you feel like that's what you're going to do. You're not going to do it. And you're going to have to push through it. I've had to have a lot of those conversations recently to myself because if it were somebody else telling me, then I'd get combative. Like, well, first of all, I don't even know what it is. Like, I'm a busy mom and I had all this stuff going on.
Mhm.
But I know when I'm, being full of it, when I'm
Mhm.
full of my own stuff.
But that brings us back to like this season. So like we know it's a busy holiday season coming up, and there are times where legitimately we've overscheduled ourselves, we've overdone it with, signing up for this, helping with that, doing this, shopping for, holiday gifts. So how do you determine when is the right time to say, I deserve this, I'm going to take this time, and like that self-care piece when it comes to the routines, like
Mhm.
how do you prioritize self-care when you know you also are prioritizing building those routines in that time?
I don't have an answer about how because I'm still
Mhm.
working on it. But one of the things that I am doing, because I tend to identify more with what you're talking about in terms of the overwhelm and
Mhm.
how do I bring that down so that I make time for self-care. Somebody, I don't know if it was a podcast or a friend who recently told me about breaking everything down to 10 minutes,
Mm.
like 10-minute increments. Like, I'm going to fold laundry for 10 minutes.
Mhm.
I'm going to exercise. I'm going to go for a walk for 10 minutes.
Mhm.
I'm going to pre-track my meals for 10 minutes because it's manageable, right? Like, I think that's what I've needed. Like, I tend to, even with self-care, that can seem like a daunting task. Like,
Mhm.
you love to get your nails done, but you
Yeah.
have to schedule time to do it and
Mhm.
make arrangements if it's like, because you're not available for the other things that you're doing.
Exactly.
But if I'm carving out that time slowly, like I said, I might only have 10 minutes, or for you, you're like, okay, it has to be 30, but I've
Mhm.
done enough of the other things that gives me that buffer
Yeah.
because I think that that's what's been helpful for me is making it more manageable chunks of time instead of
Mhm.
it needing to be either hours long or too short. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Because
think
you know me with the exercise. I've always
yeah.
felt like it had to be 45 minutes to an hour to be effective. And
Mhm.
recently I've been doing 10-minute bike workouts and just having to be okay with it.
Yeah. I love that because I mean, when you look at the schedule, or if you look at the month and you're seeing I worked out, 30 days, it's like, okay, that's amazing. Or even 20 days, that's amazing. You're not looking at, oh, but I only did 10 minutes that day and I only did that. But like, really, it's the pattern and the consistency that you're reflecting on. So in the moment, why can't we have that perspective of saying, this is building towards consistency, not,
Yeah.
this quantity right now.
And do we stop and take time to celebrate our wins?
Mhm.
Again, another thing that my couch lady, every time we have a therapy session and she says something she likes that I'm doing, she goes, "Stop.
Mm.
You're blazing past that. I need
Mm.
you to sit with the fact that you just did a good thing. I
Yeah.
need you to own that that was something that you didn't want to do and you did anyway, and sit with the fact that that shows that you're able to and that you put yourself first." And I'm like, "Yeah, well." She's like, "No, no. You need to sit with it."
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's something that you do too, but I think I see that with a lot of people, even when we're trying to make changes with our routines. How are you empowered to do better with your routines, or even to, if you can't even celebrate the fact that you're making the changes that are necessary?
Mhm. I mean, that's a good point. You have to. You have to celebrate it. You have to stop and reflect and say, and look at it practically,
Right.
because I think there's so many times we can look at things and say it's not enough,
Mhm.
or we can compare ourselves. That's something I deal with, comparison of the, well, that person, they've got 4 kids and I don't have any, but they're able to do X, Y, and Z and I didn't do that. Like
Mhm.
that is just a disaster waiting to happen. And it really
Yeah.
can damage the progress that I've already established if I'm
Mhm.
focused on what I haven't done.
Yeah. And think about what you've taught, even when you've told me and Aaron about what you use to incentivize the kids that you work with. It's always
Mhm.
like a positive reinforcement. What if you gave them no reinforcement after they did
Mhm.
something that was good? Are they more likely or less likely to do it again? They're like, well, there's no acknowledgement, of what it
Exactly.
is. When you're trying to change behavior,
Mhm.
you have to hold on to those things,
Mhm.
that feel little, but they're big. And like you
Mm.
said, comparison can get into the mix with that too, because you're like, "Well, I
Mhm.
didn't do it as well as Johnny did." I didn't do it as well as, well, Rikki's wardrobe is better than mine. Well, Erin can speak better. It's like, but that's all in your mind and
Mhm.
all not relevant to what it
Yeah.
is that we're discussing.
No.
Whether or not you tracked today and you stayed within your points and I tracked and I was out of my points, we both
Mhm.
tracked, and your day has nothing to do with mine. And
Right.
both things can be celebrated.
Yes, exactly. If your goal is to work out for 60 minutes a day, but you don't work out at all, if you've worked out for 1 minute in a day, that's progress. You
Progress,
know?
right?
Yeah.
And we need that right now because I
Mhm.
think you're gonna have a lot of outside influences in this season.
Mhm. Yeah.
You're gonna have a lot of, you're gonna have, the crowd of like, "Well, girl, I'm waiting until January," right?
Mhm.
We always talk about that. And you're like, "Girl, don't be counting those points in front of me. I'm not doing that, and I don't need you to be guilting me into
Mhm.
caring about that. I'm not going to anybody's gym right now."
Mhm. Right.
Or you could have those who are like, well, you know what? I don't take off this time. And I just did 5 miles and I figured out how to do it before I dropped the kids off. And I made a home cooked meal.
Mhm.
Congratulations. And
Right.
hopefully I can get to your level or maybe not. I'm somewhere in the middle. And
Mhm.
can that be okay? Like I have to get okay in this season with lukewarm
Exactly.
for me. And so routines and things help me with that lukewarmness. That's my goal of just
Mhm.
kind of taking each day as it comes
Mhm.
and saying my routines are adaptable because
Yeah.
as you know, I can be very much of a stickler. I think routines are meant sometimes to
Mhm.
to have room to breathe,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I think that's a really good point. I know I had to be flexible this week because my workouts aren't as consistent as they used to be, but I'm right now I'm solid at once a week. But this week I did a morning workout because I was not going to give up my workout time and I realized I hadn't been prioritizing myself and I hadn't been, putting that time in and I knew that I couldn't do the evening this week. So I did it in the morning and it felt really good. And I wanted to run into saying, I'm going to do morning workouts all the time now. And it's like I said, hold on.
Mhm.
Things are busy. I'm going to give myself grace. Right now I'm doing one workout a week and on the bike and I got a walk in this week too. But I am not going to jump from 1 to 60. I'm going to build the consistency with a 1
Yeah.
and then build it up to 2. And we're not going from 1 day a week working out to 6 days a week working out in the morning.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. And again, knowing that about yourself, being
Mhm.
honest, that's always the first piece, and knowing when you're kind of getting to, you're acting in a way that you've seen before. Because I think
Mhm.
that we both have been one that have jumped on the bandwagon of like, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going
Yeah.
to do that and I'm going to do this. And I was laughing because I was thinking about the fact that I want to cook more.
Mm.
That's one of my things, and I want to try. I've been very intentional, and I think I did a post on Instagram about getting veggies in with my meals.
Okay.
Like I'm trying to get in at least my 5 a day. So I've been adding like spinach to my eggs and
Mm.
also more fiber. So I was laughing because I wanted to Michael G, the coach, I think we did him for the
Uh-huh.
series. What is it? Our WW Real WW Talk Plus series.
Mhm.
He does these virtual because I have meetings. I know you don't.
No, I don't have that plan.
Yeah, but I have
Mhm.
meetings, and one of the things that he does is a cooking series,
Mhm.
and he's making like this chili. Hold on, I want to bring it up because I was like, okay, it's pumpkin turkey chili.
I
Okay.
mean, it looks good.
And I don't like beans, right? And I see a big bean right there, like right. If you're on the podcast, you can see it. I pulled it up, but if you go to our Facebook page,
Mhm.
search Michael G. I think he posted it in there. And if you're on Connect or in the app and you have meetings, I think it's there as well.
Mhm.
But it's called. He's doing a Cook It With Me on Monday, November 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, and he's making a turkey pumpkin chili. So bringing up the things I'm trying to get in more again, new one, I feel like it probably does have more fiber with the beans.
Yes.
Trying to get out of my comfort zone because I don't think I like beans, but I'm going to go and I'm going to try it. But it's going to require me to take time to go
Mhm.
to see the recipe and make sure I have time to cook it.
Yeah.
And that to me is where the routine comes in because I usually cook on the weekend. So I want to go and get all the ingredients and to be open to trying, like something new.
Mhm.
So
I
I'm
love that because, I mean, you could be that person that you used to be who was like, I'm going to focus on this one thing about this recipe I don't like and I'm not going to make it. Or you could try it with it in it. You could try it without it, but you
Yeah.
could also try it with it
Yeah.
and then just not eat that. I
I'm sure
mean,
he's gonna say that you can substitute stuff, right? It's
yeah.
just that bean looks so big. It looks so
But how many things have you tried
I
that
know.
you didn't think you liked
True.
and then you
True.
learned you like them? So I'm
This is
excited
true.
for you to try it. I want you
Yeah.
to report back.
I'll let you know how it is. So any of you all who have the have the meetings, join me there at 8 PM. We'll see. I'll
Yes.
report back on if it's good, but I'm sure it is. I just more so because like again, pumpkin, that's a fruit or veggie, right?
Well, the thing about pumpkin though, I think technically it's got the seeds on the inside, so would that mean it's a fruit?
I don't know.
But at the same time, I feel like pumpkin is one of those things that can adapt.
Mhm.
It's not always a really strong flavor, so I think if there's tomato in there, the tomato will overpower that.
Pumpkin is a fruit. You are
Yeah.
correct. I said check. Yeah.
Yeah, by
Okay.
the rules. I mean, most people are like, "What are you talking about? That's not." But I mean, if you go by the rules, there's a lot of weird things that actually like tomatoes, I think technically
Mhm.
are. But anyway, I think it's one of those things. Pumpkin kind of absorbs whatever flavor some in some recipes because there's a lot of spices in chili. Like those
Yeah.
are all going to take over. So
Well,
please
that's what
report
I
back.
mean. We have to try stuff new, right? And
Yeah.
so to make it a part of my routine, I'm like, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna listen, I'm going to
Mhm.
go for me, part of the routine of doing that is going grocery shopping and making
Yeah.
sure I have the ingredients, which I'm sure you're like me. 9 times out of 10, if I don't make something, it's because one, I didn't grocery shop. I don't
Mhm.
have the stuff in the house, and then I'm lazy. I don't feel I'm feeling lazy.
Yeah.
Don't feel like going to get it. So I have to in the season make sure I prioritize my weekends
Okay.
to grocery shop or the time during the week if I don't feel like fighting people at Costco or Sam's Club or
Mhm.
wherever I go.
So my question for you, we know the holidays are coming up. It's November, the second day of November.
Second.
So what are you is that what you're prioritizing out of all the routines that you have, working out, drinking water, all the tracking? What do you think is the thing, right now, not even knowing everything that's going to be in your schedule, but what is the thing you think you're going to prioritize the most as far as routines this season?
I think it's going to be my grocery shopping
Hmm.
because I need to have, for me to be successful, I've learned I need to have food in the house
Yeah.
and have it consistently
Yeah.
because if I don't, I will eat out.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
for me, my routine has to be plugged around making sure that I get the food to have in the
Mhm.
house so that I can make the choices that make me proud.
Yeah, that's good.
What about you?
So I think for me, it's gonna be tracking because I've been still doing the meal deliveries. I've been doing Factor, and it's been going well so far. It's gotten me to the point where I'm eating two vegetables a day. Anyone who's been with the podcast for a while is like,
Yeah,
wow, that's
but
that's
still, yeah,
impressive. So that has been good for me. It's a little higher in points, but it's worked out for the points that I'm assigned currently, and has helped me to be consistent with eating at home, which was another challenge for me, especially as a single person. Sometimes, hi, buddy.
my son is having to say hi.
He had to say hi.
Guys, look, it's been a while since he's come and popped by,
I
but he's
know, and
like, I am coming to say hello.
I
So
couldn't just not say hi.
yeah, yeah,
um, But yeah, for single people, sometimes it can be challenging to make a recipe and have the same thing. Or even if I went through a phase where I was like, I'm going to make 3 recipes a week or 4 recipes a week, and then I'm going to, divide them up. But it's like that can be taxing. It can be a lot of money, on the front end to do that. Probably is good in the long run to have it, and store it in the freezer. But again, it's a lot of work and time to invest. And then if you don't like one or two of the recipes, then you're kind of out of luck. But for me, because I have that piece, I don't have to do that meal prep part. That's been a really big relief for me at least in this season. So if I can make sure I'm getting those tracked and getting in all my licks, bites, tastes tracked too this season,
or BLTs.
um,
Yes,
BLTs, um, I think that will continue to help me to be successful
yeah.
as I plan and pre-tracking, not just
Well,
tracking.
I'm interested. One, I'm going to hold you to it. Let's check in with each other next week and
Yes.
see how we did. And we
Yeah.
want to hear from you. What are you all thinking about, holding yourself to when it comes to routines for this period of time? You can always let us know. We have a very active Facebook group. We're at almost 10,000, getting closer and
Mm.
closer each day. You can just search for Real WW Talk on Facebook. Also, join us on Instagram, search Real WW Talk, and of course on the podcast. We'd love to hear from you. You can send us messages on, it's kind of like a fan mail feature, just so you know, we cannot respond back to you, but we love to hear from you. And we tried to incorporate some of the things that we've heard in the episode. We also want to thank everybody who is a supporter of the podcast. This is something that we do because we love talking to you all and sharing our journey. But it's not free for us to do it, and you all and your support means the world to us. So if you'd like to become a supporter, there'll be a link in the show notes. You can find us on Connect. All of that will be there too. But we want to hear, like I said, what are some of the things that you're doing in terms of your routine in this holiday season? Erin will be back with us very, very shortly. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know how you could find us. Rikki, is there anything else I forgot? I can't
Yeah,
think.
just don't forget to join Michael G. I know Candice, you're gonna go.
I'm going.
These are the times where I wish I had that premium membership so I could go to the meetings. But Monday, November 9th, that's coming up, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Join Michael G. He linked it in the group, so you can find more information there.
Yeah. Pray
Mhm.
for me, guys. We're all going to learn. We're all going to try it together. It's going to be good.
Yes.
It's going to be good.
I can't wait to hear about it. Well,
Okay.
everyone have a great week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.